Honey on the air. Oh, yes, we are. We are on the air. We are live and in living color. Good morning, Michael Knight down in Pasadena, California. How are you?
Well, I'll tell you, but the big picture is we're fine, and that's Tomas. He's going to make himself at home here.
Yes,
I
Tomas
have a
seems like
22
he's
pound
taking
cat, ladies and
control of the
gentlemen. His name
show.
is Tomas. He's the biggest cat I've ever had. He eats more and poops more than any cat in my experience. And now, for some reason, he's in my lap, and I will show you what I mean.
Well, he's looked at
There
the
he is.
latest ratings and said that you guys need something.
See the little tuxedo accoutrement with the
Yeah,
whiskers highlighted against the skin.
yeah,
And
definitely. Yeah, he's got that look, man.
he's got the baleful look. He's got it. Anyway, the cat decided to sit with me because it's been a rough day around here for Kristen and the cats. Strange thing happened Thursday last week. Coming home from my daughter's house in Woodland Hills,
Yeah,
see the kids. We've been serving as the Commodore and as the Tutu, and I stopped at the Walgreens drugstore to pick up my order of tramadol, which is a low-key narcotic painkiller that I've been taking for close to 15 years for stenosis in the back. That's the one thing that Joe Montana and I have we're in cahoots over stenosis of the spine.
you could tell tramadol stories probably.
Narrowing. Well, here's the short tramadol story. After a short period of time, it doesn't do anything for the pain, but it exposes you to the negative side of narcotics taken on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So that's a double-edged sword that's short one edge. Wait, I thought we were going to have two edges. There's not an edge for me here. So I guess we'll get a better picture here if the cat doesn't want to be on the screen anymore.
Yeah. There you go.
My prescription's not ready for me. The provider, that's the doctor, is not happy about something. But he didn't call me, and he didn't tell me, and he never communicated what his unhappiness was. Now, this is after 12 bloody years of taking the same medicine.
Yeah.
And he refuses to fill the prescription. So that night, Thursday night of last week, I go into withdrawal because it kicks in the very day. If you don't take your medicine, it kicks right in. This is a story of woe for everybody taking narcotics, but that's a fact. And so Friday morning before our show, I call them and I said, "What the hell's going on?" They said, "Well, you missed your wellness program." I said, "When was that?" "Well, that was 6 months ago." "And you're mad about it now?" And you know what? We had a long, loud argument. I hate to think what my neighbors thought I was doing. I was threatening a doctor, but I was talking to the nurse practitioner who has increasingly taken over the operation of the practice.
Right.
And has said many times that she wanted me to come in for my little wellness program. And I don't like the wellness program because all they do is they sit on one side of the room with a computer and you sit on the other side of the room and they give you a printout. Here's a test for your blood. Go downstairs and make an appointment. Here's a test for your Fleming jab and your accelerator. We don't have those in the building, of course, so you'll have to go make an appointment at Huntington Hospital. Here's your test for your poop scooper and your ladle radle, and we want to get those done soon. Those will have to be done. You'll have to make the appointment. So you walk out with 2 weeks' work, and they have not done anything for you. They haven't addressed your wellness at all. They have added to your sense of ill will. But I know that he didn't want to have all those tests being able to be run out of his office. That would have been an expense of his, and I can understand him choosing the other route, which was do it your bloody self. And I don't like that route.
Right.
So they refuse. You've probably heard of the phrase, first do no harm. That's the Hippocratic oath that all doctors take.
Right.
Not many people, disc jockeys never take an oath. You don't have to ask a disc jockey to do anything vital in the world. So why would he have to take an oath to promise to do it? He's going to hit the post. He's going to say, "It's 6 o'clock in Washtenaw." Hey, baby. You don't have to sign a document to be able to do that. But if you're a doctor, you have to swear an oath to do no harm. And their attitude toward me was, the first thing we're going to do is not just harm you, we're going to gum you up good and proper. And that night I went into withdrawal. That means great
discomfort.
Discomfort in the hands and feet is where it goes for me. Some hallucinations with light and dark if the room is dark enough. Inability to concentrate on anything. No sleep whatsoever. And that was Thursday night, followed by Friday night, followed by Saturday. Same thing. We're 3 days with no sleep. And every once in a while, I would fall asleep in a sitting position because it was like my body saying, "What are you guys doing? Don't you have a doctor to deal with this stuff? Didn't you used to have a doctor?"
Check out for a few minutes here.
And my body would shut down periodically. It did it to me once when I was standing at the sink making coffee, cleaning the coffee maker, making coffee, making a latte that was not going to keep me awake and not going to put me to sleep and not help me in any way, but it tasted pretty good. And I near wound up on the floor of the kitchen because my body just shut down. Now we're in day three. We're going through the whole weekend. So now it's 4 days, and the doctor refused to see me on Friday. He said maybe that they could see me on Monday, which meant that would be 4 days of withdrawal put on my bill for no particular good reason. Just spite. By the way, am I talking about Dr. Craig Johnson of Pasadena, California?
Well, I don't know. Are you?
I don't know. Am I?
Could be.
Am I talking about Dr. Biff Jiggerman of Kansas City, Missouri?
No.
So that's my story. That's what's going on. I thought I was out of it yesterday. I was, after going to the store and doing the shopping, that's my job. I finally got out of the house, drove, cleaned up, looked like a human being, but I didn't feel like one. Yeah. And I go to the store, and just doing the little things was not a chore in terms of, oh, this is so hard. It's just like you're in the wrong world. You're there mostly 80%, but you're not right. You're not really there. You shouldn't be driving a car, probably. But full disclosure, I did go to Pavilions and nowhere else. 4 blocks round trip. And when I came home, then I went out for 5 hours. That was yesterday. And I thought, well, we're really done now. Last night, right back, same thing as if nothing had changed. I tried to go to sleep, 11 o'clock, nothing, feet, hands, body, kicking the legs, the whole retinue of nonsense, of cold turkey is what I'm experiencing. And it made me angry, but I couldn't do anything about it because I wasn't myself. So that's why I actually fell asleep during our show. I had no idea I had fallen asleep. The only way I knew I had been asleep is I'm hearing your voice saying, Michael, what's going on there? And well, I knew I wasn't having a good show. I mean, I knew that I wasn't making good sense.
Yeah. Well, Mikey,
that's my story. Now, if there's a happy ending, and of course there is a happy ending, I don't have to take tramadol anymore. I'm just going to have a painful back and no means of addressing it. But that's not what bothers me. I've had a painful back for years and learned to live with it. What bothers me is this sudden and remarkable refusal of service from a doctor that's been my personal GP for 20 years. What got into this guy? Did I piss him off?
I'll tell you exactly what got into them, because I think anybody who takes painkillers, anybody who takes narcotic painkillers is experiencing something similar. Is that these guys have now, and women, have become so afraid of prescribing this stuff because of all of the different studies that are coming out, which I don't know. You know, to me, it's always a balance of what's worse, taking the drug or experiencing the pain. And I'll go with taking the drug because the pain is debilitating.
Well, I've gone with both, and I can tell you it's no picnic, whichever road you take.
Yeah, and at least with the drug, you function. But what has happened is because so many people have abused the drugs,
That's true.
so many people have, taken them or stolen them, or whatever the situation is. That now to prescribe an opiate for somebody is like going through a mass examination. I mean, I take stuff for my ankles, and I have to go every 3 months. I have to take a urine test. I have to sign a paper.
They want to make sure you're actually taking the medicine.
Yeah. Oh no, they definitely, yeah, no. And if they have a trace of something in in your urine, they cut you right off. I've never had that happen, but the doctors told me, and luckily I don't. There's no trace of anything that would wind up in my urine
Right.
except sugar. And if you want to cut it off for sugar, well, then we're all in trouble. But it is now, that whole thing about, well, when if we're going to take you off of this stuff, we have to progressively let you down. We
That's
have to
not
progressively,
that's not the view here in Pasadena, Vinny. I can assure you.
and it's not the view most anywhere else anymore. It happened to me in Pittsburgh. I lost my pills 1 month. So I don't know what I did with them. I must have left them in a car, or left them, or somehow lost them. And I went 15 days, 20 days without my medicine. And I was in a lot of pain. So then I went down to get the medicine.
Oh no, you can't have the medicine.
And so they do the urine test, and it doesn't show up in the urine test.
You've been
So they
selling
say,
your
well,
pills.
you're not taking them. I, I couldn't take them the last 15 days, but every other urine test you've given me has come up that, perfect. Well,
Well,
no, sorry, no more.
we know you're selling them in the Jock Lounge. We know what you're doing.
Yeah, they're looking for ways to release themselves from the liability and the aggravation that they now have to go through for the federal government. So it's another case of where it's overkill, and that the people that need the medicine don't get it because the people that abused the medicine have far overshadowed. It's not sexy in media to say, well, everybody's taking it and they're much more, happy, and they don't have as much pain, and they can go to work and they can function. And if you're rich, you're always going to be able to find a doctor. If you were going to a doctor in Beverly Hills, they're never going to cut you off. You're paying them,
Dr. Hackenbush.
yeah, $500 a visit, not on Medicare. They're gonna write you up.
And
They're
as
gonna
I
get you
mentioned,
going.
as I mentioned before, and I don't know if it translates to people who have never taken the medicine, tramadol is not an end all be all. It's not a post surgery medicine. It doesn't address that kind of pain. It doesn't address that kind of pain at all. It's not hydrocodone. It's not OxyContin. It's nothing of the sort.
Yeah, it's a maintenance
It's
medicine.
one step. It's one step up from over the counter painkiller, in my estimation. And having taken a lot of the good stuff, I can tell you that
Yeah,
it's not
it's it,
that. It's not an official, recognized, reliable killer of pain. It is a drug that leaves you vulnerable to the dark side, as I said, but none of the redeeming medical reasons to take it on the plus side.
well,
So
I mean, Mikey, I think that at the very least, your doctor should have said to you. And I took this up, and I'll tell you what: if I would have been staying in Pennsylvania, I would have really um, ripped on this guy because my pain cannot be managed with over the counter drugs.
No,
I've
of course
tried,
not.
believe you me, I've tried every drug possible. When I get that stabbing in my ankle, it's gotta, I mean, I've had to go to the hospital and been injected with morphine. The pain is so bad.
And some people
And
don't know, but once that type of pain starts, it's on a cycle and it increases itself. And there's nothing you can do to calm it down.
there's
It's so
nothing.
inflamed. Inflammation is your biggest enemy.
Your ankles blow up, and there's just nothing. You could put heat, you could put cold, you could put remedies. I've had everybody try everything, and you know how badly sometimes I get. I get to where I can't walk,
Yeah.
where I almost have to crawl, and so it just seems to me to be heartless of the doctor's office to say to you, "We're just cutting you off."
You know what I
Now,
said? What I said to this guy is, I said, "Do you know from personal experience what what you have just decided to do to me? What my next week is going to be like?" Now here we are, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. I can't have sleep. I'm not awarded when I'm tired at night like most human beings. I'm up all night. The worst hours 1 to 5. Wild. Um, there's actually a pattern on the drapes at night between 1 and 5 that I can hallucinate to, and it's there every night. It's reliable. It's like it's so weird to see the spots between the drapes opening like this and then opening again. And I'm I'm tired
well,
of
you
this
and I
episode
are
of
on the
this
user
episode.
end,
Yeah.
on the unpublicized end of what goes on here. And again, because so many people have abused this, and in some ways it's hard because it's hard to say. Well, they got to give me the stuff, but there seems to be it's one thing or the other.
But
And there has to be and should be a middle ground where a doctor or somebody who is caring for you, and I emphasize the word caring, would say to you, "Well, listen, we'll give you 3 pills, or we'll give you 5 pills, and we'll give you enough that you can take two, 3 today, 2 tomorrow." So it lets you down gradually.
I still think you're going to have to do the full week of cold turkey, even though you can avoid the pain somewhat that way.
Well, yeah, but if you do that, if they don't want to treat you anymore, if they don't want to prescribe this medicine for you anymore, or even if you have missed your wellness check,
During
you
the
still
pandemic.
yeah, you still have to they still have to wean you off it. It's not a medicine that you just tell people to stop taking. If the object was to get you off of it and not prescribe it for you anymore, the proper procedure, I think, and again, I'm not a doctor, would be to take you off of this gradually over a week or 2 or 3, so that what you go through, that withdrawal that you go through, wouldn't be as painful, wouldn't be as horrible, because you can wean people off of these drugs. You can set up a program which takes people off. It
But
doesn't have to be a cold turkey, unfeeling, uncaring kind of program.
and keep in mind that Vinny's making it sound reasonable, and titrating off of medicine like that is the way a professional would do it. But think of the idea that they've solved their problem.
Right.
We have a problem here, and you're it. You're not here a lot. 6 months ago, we made a notation that you missed an appointment. Wow, you missed an appointment, and they're bringing it up. They're bringing it up like we're looking at your file. Well, let's see. Why are we cutting you off? Well, it's got nothing to do with the tramadol. No, it has to do with that meeting you missed. We had a big staff meeting. We wanted everyone to be here, and you weren't here.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
We told you to
today,
do all those tests. You didn't do all those tests.
and what happens is, Michael, when this happens, it forces people to do things that they normally wouldn't do. So now
Sounds
all of a
dangerous to
sudden, and
me.
I'm not saying that you're doing this, but now you have somebody that's faced with a choice. Do I go and try to find this stuff off market? Do I try to find somebody that has it or has something like it? And of course, what is the thing that they are making now that's so much like is
Fentanyl.
especially in Southern California, I would imagine it's pretty easy to get fentanyl.
But you're getting it from a lab in Mexico that doesn't much care about the ingredients. So
Right,
one
right,
pill,
right.
one pill can send you to see the coroner downtown LA. And they haven't been downtown LA. The coroner has not made a lot of improvements in the morgue. They
No,
just
and
don't have a lot of pressure to improve the place.
so when you're in pain, when you experience pain that is the type of pain that debilitates you, the type of pain that says to you, "No, buddy, you're not doing anything today except lying in bed, and trying to
Mhm.
find a place, one little place where you can get somewhat comfortable."
That's one of the weird things about this episode is that the couch is no comfort, the bed is no comfort
Yeah,
because you can't relax. What's comfortable is being on your feet. I did more midnight work around the house. I did play music plugged in direct to the recorder so that no one could hear it but me. I was active. I could not even begin to sleep. I couldn't begin to deal with my own rejection of the drug or the drug's rejection of me, and had to be on my feet. Last night I went for a walk at 3 o'clock in the morning because there's just too much activity going on in my body,
yeah,
of which I was not being allowed to. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't start it. I couldn't comment on it. I couldn't help it, and it wasn't getting any better. In fact, last night was probably my worst night of them all, and I thought I was over the hill. So that's my woe is me story. It can happen to you, but the question that I asked this nurse practitioner was, "Do you know from personal experience what you're putting me through?" He said, "Oh yeah, I know.
yeah.
Yeah, this is personal. Just understand that we're coming to get you."
Well, a lot of times, listen, I've run into doctors in my life, and I've seen enough doctors to run into all kinds who have no feeling, who have no, they're divorced from their occupation. They do what they think is right, and I think to be a doctor, you have to have a certain kind of ego that says you know better than anybody else, because in many cases you do.
And even though if your patient's in pain or going to be in pain, you just say, "Hey, it'll get better. Stick with
Right.
it.
But to put
It's gonna be
somebody
fine."
through that is unconscionable to me. But the laws have been set up in this country, so there's not much you can do about it except find another doctor.
Well, I don't have a general practitioner any longer. That's certainly a fact, but I don't need him for tramadol either, I guess. You
Well,
know what? But here's the thing. I don't want to be in the same room with someone who wears a white coat but has his dagger neatly concealed. That is not what a modern doctor should evolve into. This is not what a modern doctor should, a path that he should follow willingly and with gusto. Follow this path.
yeah,
And I just wish upon him someday the opportunity to do what I just did. Get to know your apartment. Get to know your physical limitations. Get to know what's going on with your body. You'll believe me. There'll be no doubt in your mind what's happening when the cold turkey comes to roost.
yeah, yeah. Believe you me. Oh no, when they did this to me back in Pittsburgh, I was kicking and screaming. I mean, you could hear me
Oh
down
yeah.
the hall.
Oh yes.
Because it's what you put your body through is unbelievable. And that I'm sure there's people that will see this and say, "Oh, well, what are you? You're just a junkie." But it's not. It's not that. It's
But
that it's that you try to function as a human being through something that's unfunctionable through. If I'm in pain or you're in pain, nothing else matters. Taking a bath doesn't matter. Brushing your teeth doesn't matter. Watching your favorite show doesn't matter. It all doesn't matter when you're in pain. There's nothing that somebody is going to say to you
It's going to make it all better.
that's going to make it better.
But there is something that a doctor can say to you to make it all worse, and I mean all of it worse from here, from day one till you're through. Now, I apologize for falling asleep the other day. It was really embarrassing.
I actually took the episodes off. I quashed them because I just thought nobody needs to see that, so they're not even up on the up on our what do you call it, our socials. Just nobody.
That was nice of you, Vinny. It would have been nice to edit out just the part going to sleep to hold over my head in perpetuity. That would have been good.
Yeah, well, instead of sitting there and edit, just what, the show really didn't have. I don't know. It was it was like,
imagine it was lacking in a little zip.
It was a left turn right out of the box. So
actually,
everybody was going right, and we were trying to go left, and
there was 20 minutes at the top of the show that was great. That wasn't on the air. That had to do with something else entirely, and that was worthy.
Well, and you know what? Before the show, I kind of sensed something was going on, and I probably just should have said, "You really want to do this today?" Chances are we would have gone on with it anyway, but I'm glad that I'm glad you. First of all, I'm glad you're all right. Number one, as far as healthy, all right.
Well, the funny thing about cold turkey is it's very unpleasant, but it ain't going to kill you. But it can lead you to fall down the stairs, to wreck your car, to screw up something in the, drop 6 bottles of tequila in the store. It can lead you to do a lot of things that you wouldn't normally do because you're not in your right mind.
And in some people, I disagree with you that it won't kill you. I think there are some people who it will kill. There are some people who just figure that this is it. I can't take this anymore. And, just quit. And
Keith Richards was famous for his book, his tell-all book, his biography, standing alone in a hotel in Russia on the birthday of the Boy Scouts, doing the Boy Scout salute in his hotel room, and doing the Boy Scout the pledge, I promise to be, and all that good stuff. And then during the days that he was using narcotics himself, he couldn't reliably get a supply for the road when the Stones would go on the tour. So he would go cold turkey every time the Stones toured America. Before he would be done with it by the time he got on the road. But I thought, God, Keith, what a stubborn son of a bitch to keep going back and keep putting himself in that situation, and then to keep curing it with cold turkey, because it's a cure, but it ain't a holiday. Believe me.
No, it's no, and not that I heroize or aggrandize anybody who goes through that, but it is not something that you ever want to go through if you can help it. It's probably the biggest reason why you shouldn't start doing drugs. Because I mean it messes with your body in ways that you didn't ever believe it could be messed with. It messes with your mind, it messes with your gut, it messes with your bodily functions, your fluids, your everything. It just takes whatever it does inside of you, it takes all of that and wreaks havoc on it.
We can thank the Bear group of München or Rotterdam, wherever their headquarters were.
München. Yeah, I think it's
and
because I've been to the Bayer Museum.
They invented a little drug that was going to be a great help to and a boon to mankind when it comes to distinct pain, especially post-surgery pain. And they called it heroin because it had a catchy name. If you watch television, there's how many commercials can there be of someone singing about Ubrelvy or Roxamana or I take Squishum and it works fine for me. The doctor said, there's nothing we can do for you, but that was before I looked at Lobonsky. And Lobonsky it's been wonderful. My life's changed completely. course, the doctor's going to cut me off in Lebonsky next week, and I don't know that.
Well, they have you out there dancing. Oh, my life is so much better.
I'm dancing in the flowers, yes. Well, that's my story. I hope today is going to be the last of it. I hope tomorrow will be the finish. I want one night to do something so simple, and here it is: go to bed and fall asleep. Is what my body wants to do now more than anything. But these little episodes of the body turning itself off is completely new to me.
Yeah. How's the pain? How's your back pain?
Well, it's stiff, but right now I'm just so sore from not sleeping. The body just gets increasing. It gets tired, then it gets tired, and then it gets troubled. And saying, look, you know what you have to do to make this right.
Yes.
You got to sleep. You're not sleeping. What's wrong with you? What's going on up there? You can tell us. Tell us now. No, we had a misdelivery, a cock up downtown at headquarters.
Yeah.
Can't say more.
Yeah, it's definitely without a doubt it's a horrible thing. I'm sorry you have to go through it. I'm sorry that your doctor, I've been blessed for the most part throughout my medical consumption career of having pretty decent doctors that
So have I, because usually guys that meet a lot of people, get to know people.
Yeah.
If they interview them in different situations, you get to be able to read someone and you look at this doctor and say, is this the putz I want from my doctor? Is this the guy I want? Isn't there somebody else? And I know it's hard getting a new doctor because they sometimes they don't like to take on good patients. And if they're good doctors, they have a lot of patience.
Right. And if you're on Medicaid or Medicare, I should say, and Medicaid or something like that, it becomes increasingly hard
Some
because
don't
a
do
lot
it.
of doctors don't want to, they don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to take the money that the government will pay them, which is much below what their going, shelf rate is, rack rate, and accept that. But
I think they just want to get me off the books. I have other doctors that I go to, specialists that I don't have to, and I don't share my experiences with the GP because his job was just to get me tramadol and order tests down the street for everything under the sun. And I didn't discuss major medical changes with him. I had other guys for that. And I think it's just a situation where he wanted me off the books.
That could very well be. I think that the experience I went through in Pennsylvania, that was pretty much it. There's I don't know how it actually works, but I've been told that there's a score that these doctors have of how many percentage of their patients are prescribed narcotics, especially oxycodone, oxycontin, hydrocodone, hydrocontin, all the different opiates that you can get. And I hear that there's sometimes when doctors will try to get you off of the opiates and onto something else. At the very least, the doctor should have offered you, if they didn't want to prescribe to you an opiate anymore, at least the doctor should have said to you, well, there's this Celebrex or this or that, or, there's other drugs that they could have used and offered you to say, well, we'll put you on this, get in here for your wellness check.
No, that wellness check was just nonsense because they wouldn't see me. They knew the condition I was in,
Right.
and they refused to even make an appointment to look it over, to see me in person, to have to tell me face to face what they had in mind.
Well,
I thought that was extraordinary.
Yeah, that's that's the thing now with all of this telemedicine and stuff. There's less confrontation. They don't want to, if they don't want to do something, they don't have to have you in their office anymore. They can just they'll schedule a
laptop
video visit with you, which they charge the same for. and they will, and they'll tell you like that. And I have to say that, to be honest with you, I don't know that I blame doctors for that, because there's been enough psychopaths that have, pulled out a gun in
Yeah.
a situation like that, or beaten a doctor up or something like that. That I can't say as I 100% in today's environment disagree with that. If you can do something without having to have contact with people, but it's an indication of where our country is. Everybody is scared of everybody else. Everybody runs scared these days. Where America used to be a place where people would put themselves out for you, would would try to do everything they could to assist you, to help you. Nowadays, it's I'm going to do the least I can possibly do,
For the
and
most I can possibly charge.
right, for the most I can possibly charge, and I'll stand there and I'll just, if you don't like it, hey, what are you going to do about it? And every once in a
Well,
while you see somebody who decides, well, this is what I'm going to do about it.
yeah,
Uh,
there's a balance in my life right now because our grandson, who's 4 years old, has been seeing a lot of doctors
yeah,
and a lot of nurses and a lot of hospitals, and he's really doing well. His numbers this week were extraordinary.
good, thank God.
So it's the product of two things: some luck and the best doctors and nurses in LA. Children's Hospital in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, the best children's hospital in the world, with doctors from all over the world servicing the sickest children in the world. Really remarkable.
Well, I think that's
And
where the
never
good
and ne-
doctors, where the great
and I think
doctors go these days, right?
that's right. And what I'm saying is that would not happen with those doctors in that facility, with those parents and with those patients.
I
Why?
think I think the great doctors these days, Michael, go into those kinds of things because number one, the money is good. Number two, they feel like they're actually doing something instead of running old guys like us through through a treadmill,
A
through a
wellness
medical
meter.
treadmill.
You can't get out of the wellness meter and you want pills? No. Back in the meter, back into the meter.
Yeah, well, that wellness thing is something I guess that is required by Medicare every year because I have to actually go for mine. Mine is scheduled for my birthday this year, and once you get on Medicare, excuse me,
They
you have
want
to go for it.
paperwork. They want paperwork on you. Well, they told me that my video compliance with their requests was enough. And then they changed their mind. But I thought, you're bringing up a meeting that I didn't make as if it was something, a black mark on my record. What the hell are you people talking about?
Well, it
What in
sounds.
God's name?
I think you hit the nail on the head before. I think it's something where they were trying to dump you.
I thought
You
that they
know,
had some sort of a religious conversion. They were all Jesus freaks and they were going to practice a certain kind of Southern Baptist medicine, and I wasn't going to fit in, and they just knew it wasn't going to work. This is not going to work between us. Get yourself another doctor. They didn't say get another doctor. What they said was eat shit and die, and the sooner the better.
maybe they heard the show and just thought you were high enough. They just
Possibility.
they looked at the show and they said,
There's always the realm of possibility. Well, we're not talking about that
these
doctor that
guys
I
are talking
mentioned.
about countries that don't exist."
Spolpakia exists. I was there last night.
That's what you had here, Mikey. You had a doctor that heard the show and said, "These guys, I don't know about this."
I can help. I can help you, but you got to meet me halfway. Yes, Doctor Hackenbush. We
Oh
know
my
we know
God.
how you treated Biff Jiggerman, and Biff
Well,
feels better.
I'm sorry you're going through that, pal. I know what it is. I've been there, and I know exactly how that feels. And you and I have talked about it. When I've had some of that problem at times, and it's there's no relief, man. There's nothing that you can do that will make it better.
You know,
Example.
doctors form corporations to protect themselves from lawsuits. But how can you structure your practice to protect you from malpractice if you're going to willingly throw people under the bus who, at a certain age, in certain conditions, with certain medications, cannot just be put off on the side of the road with, you got one sandwich and don't eat it all at once because this is going to take a while to get better.
Well, because I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I think. Again, I have no statistical or any reference. This is just me saying what I think. But I think that there's a prevailing feeling in the medical world that older people aren't going to complain. They're just going to not say anything, or they're going to die. They're just, we don't have to service older people because they're not going to complain. They're not going to file a complaint against us. If they do, it's so much red tape. You know
Yeah,
what it is to file a complaint against somebody under Medicare? It's like a lifelong process.
it'll take the rest of your life, and you haven't got that much of it left. You will not sue your doctor and see the end of it yourself. Your descendants will.
Yeah, and you'll get what'll they even give you? There's probably a limit because of the limits of liability. There's probably a limit on how much they can even give you. If,
Well,
if let's say you turn around and sued the doctor and they found him guilty of it, but the lawyers, the
the
other half of
lawyers
that equation, would
lawyers
grab
get
would grab most of the money.
33.5%.
So you're one way or the other, you're screwed.
It's true. It's a screw job. Superman would have an answer for this. Superman would put an end to this sort of this activity, this nonsense that takes a perfectly normal uh, customer patient and turns them into a basket case and do it willingly and knowingly. In fact, that was the last comments we had was you know what you're going to be doing to me. You know what's going to happen to me right now. He said, "Oh yeah, I know." And I said, "Then this severs our relationship." And that's when I hung up. I'd yelled enough. I'd heard his shit enough. I had gotten all the information from him I was going to get. And the information was, we don't care about you. We don't care about your pain. We don't care about what you're about to enter into.
Yeah, screw you.
That's
Yeah,
your thing, okay? Our thing's over here. We're fine. We're feeling pretty good. But your thing's over there at your place. You're not feeling good? You know what you need. You need a good doctor. Good luck
yeah.
with that.
The best we can do for you is go to the emergency room, and maybe you'll find somebody there who'll have mercy on you and say, okay, let's give this guy some medication to get him through until he can get to another doctor, which probably isn't.
Well, that I've been described sometimes as stubborn, not always accurately, but oftentimes that's an accurate description of me.
You have your moments,
And
as do I.
when this thing presented itself to me, I said, I will not beg on my knees for what they want to do to me. I'm going to pull through. I'm going to get out on the other side of this and be pretty cool for it. If Keith Richards can do it and then do a tour of America, come on, I can do the Lloyd Thaxton show, no matter how I feel.
Exactly.
But I didn't expect to fall asleep.
Well, you know,
And for the folks who weren't there, I was talking to Vinnie, and then I felt it coming on, and I just went to sleep.
you just put your
And
head down, and that was it.
and it was fascinating how far away I went so quickly because when the show was over and I told Chris, I said, "You won't believe this, I fell asleep in the damn show." And she said, "Well, maybe that's good. You can go to sleep." I didn't sleep the rest of the day. I didn't take a cat nap. I didn't fall asleep on the couch. I was right back in the soup.
You were up. You could have stayed up and did the rest of the show. Well, Mikey, it's like I said. I'm glad that you are okay. That's number one. And number two, I'm feeling for you because I know what it is to go through that, and It's not pretty. It's not something that you ever want to go through or see anybody that you love go through it.
It's not for sissies.
And that matter of fact, that memory of that and that thought of that is probably one of the things that keep many people from getting addicted because they know what it's like to have to, the other side of that.
Because
And
believe me, you will remember the cold turkey a lot better than you'll remember taking two at 6 o'clock.
I went through cold turkey like that many, 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 many years ago, and it is fresh in my mind as if it were yesterday. I still remember everything I went through to have to rid my body of that poison. I mean, it got to the level where it wasn't treating anything; it was a poison.
Right. And one of the failures of modern medicine, and I'm not blaming any of this on modern medicine, but one of the failures, Vinny, is that everybody is exposed to narcotics at some time if they've had surgery.
Right.
If you've had a simple appendicitis, appendectomy, you can't go home and resume your life playing pickleball in the backyard. You're going to be hurting for certain, and it hurts some people more than others, and it takes longer to recover from that post-surgery pain than it does others. But my doctor, who did my shoulder, said, but it's insidious. It's a plan that works perfectly. The trouble is the plan's perfection does not include the patient. The patient is the victim through the whole thing. You get your shoulder worked on. That's a 12-week recovery with ice and packing and bandaging and post-op care,
Yeah.
taking 4 to 6 narcotic pills every day for a while. Plenty. The way to get started on it is easy. You just take your regular dosage. You don't know it. You don't feel it. You haven't arrived at anything yet, but the body is already dependent on that medicine and will not take anything else as a substitute.
Well, and also you're bombarded with, as you brought up before, you're bombarded with commercials that take this pill, take this shot, take this, take that, and it'll make you feel better. It'll make your life carefree. If you take Jardians, you won't have to, you don't have to worry about your heart. If you take Ozempic, you won't have to worry about your weight. If you take this, if you take that, you won't have to worry about A or B.
I like the fact that
So,
if you take Schmerzgoff, you don't have to worry about peeing your pants. You will pee your pants. You just won't worry about it after you've done it.
exactly. As a
The
matter of fact,
Schmerzgoff
that's
work.
the most prescribed medicine is the medicine that makes you not worry about taking the medicine.
There you go.
So, what do you expect from people? We're indoctrinated into take medicine. If something is wrong, take a pill.
Do what the doctor told you.
Big Pharma has spent millions to adjust America and other countries to this idea. And in America, we have become the king of abusing it. Either through prescription or otherwise, because people want to feel better. People don't want to feel pain. People don't want to feel aches. People don't want to feel old. People don't want to feel depressed.
And there are times when what you present to the doctor can be treated but not fixed.
Right.
Your ankles,
Well, you have to fix the cause.
right.
You can take a pill. You can take antidepressants and they will help you function, but are they fixing what's causing you to be depressed? Is it a chemical imbalance,
Yeah. Yes.
or is it something else? And again, I go back to the same thing. The doctors are so overworked and overtaxed these days that the prevailing feeling is they'll just throw a couple of pills on him, make him feel better, and he'll feel okay, and he'll go away. and we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Isn't it hilarious that a positive outcome for the doctor is the patient just goes away? He gets what he wanted. Doctor's no worse off. He'll may have to fill out a report. You sold more last year than you did this year. How come? I treated more patients. Yeah, but why are you choosing to give them all narcotics? I'm a surgeon. I cut them open. I sew them up. When they wake up, they're a little pissed off. It's the only
Well,
way to keep them from hurting themselves.
well, even without narcotics, even just on antidepressants, or I mean, how many people get prescribed antidepressants or anti-anxiety pills in this country, and just get, all of a sudden, well, now you're doing anti-anxiety pills all
Well,
the time.
all the so-called mental acuity pills have a dark side to them in terms of if your dose is going to be two 100 milligram pills, you start with 50, and then you go up to 100, and then
Right.
to
You got to work
150,
your
and
way
then
up
you
and then work your
work your
way
way up.
down.
And if you don't work your way down, you go through a withdrawal that the SST inhibitors put people through, and that is hell because it's a very swimmy atmosphere. It's like you're not really there.
You don't think clearly. It's. I mean, I don't think it's any secret to anybody that I suffer through depression, and I have for years, and nobody has ever been able to figure out why I suffer through depression.
Well,
They just know that I suffer
it's a
through it.
weird world, Vinny. It's a pretty weird world.
Well, I tend to think that it's some kind of chemical imbalance that I have,
It
and
is, but for all your New York volume, you're a sensitive person. You're sensitive to the world around you. You're sensitive to the friends and the people that you interact with. You're sensitive in knowing about who they are and their business and their attitude, and you react to that, and you take on some of their feelings too. And that
well, I try to. I mean, I try to. I would rather be a person that feels for people than a person that doesn't feel for people, because I know what not feeling for people feels like.
that would be Dr. Craig Johnson, possibly of Pasadena, California, but not necessarily.
Um, yeah, not feeling for people, not understanding people's um, problems and mistakes and foibles, as well as their accomplishments and their the things that they do. You try to treat people as whole people, not just and sometimes you get burned doing that. Sometimes you take on their stuff, and for some people it can have an adverse effect on them. For me, I'm one of those people that it's had an adverse effect on. If not, I would be a Republican.
Well, oh God. I thought you were going to say Martian, but no, Republican fits. Republican fits fine. One of the aspects of modern medicine is we think they can fix everything, and sometimes if they catch it early enough, I imagine that they can fix everything. But there are some things that can't be helped, and one of them is they haven't figured out what to do with narcotics. We use them and prescribe them every day, from people getting their tonsils out to people who are getting a knee replacement. We use it as the last step of sophisticated, life-saving, extraordinarily treacherous surgery. And then you send that patient home with their shoulder in a sling and their leg encased in some sort of pressure cast. And they are benefiting from all the best that modern medicine has to offer. And one thing that will not help them in that fights against them, that works every day to make it worse instead of better, is the narcotic that they give you after the surgery. You got 10 or 15 in the bottle. And people say, oh, I want to keep my mental, I want to stay alert. I don't want that stuff.
Yeah.
It's something Clint Eastwood would say. I'm not taking any of that. I'll just have a scotch. All right, tough guy, go for it.
Until you're lying there at night and the pain becomes unbearable, and then you're,
Starts to
the hell
get
did I
hot.
do with that bottle?
This is you start seeing the skeleton model from your physiology class. You go, they cut through my viscera, they cut through my skin, they cut through my muscle, they cut through the blood vessels, they cut through everything else that was on the other side. And when they got to where they were going, they cut everything they could find there. Why does it hurt? Well, you got cut 50 times, buddy.
Yeah, you got it's yeah. I mean that volume again, depending on what it is, or if you have a broken bone or something. God, I remember when I was after my motorcycle accident, man. I was, the pain was so unbearable because I had it in every part of my body. I was shattered. That you couldn't wait for the nurse to come in with the shot to put you out of it until you could heal. Uh, the pain from that stuff, from the injuries. If you, I don't know how people did it without pain mitigation medication.
Can you imagine having your rotator cuff done with no anesthesia?
I can't imagine having anything done with no anesthesia. I had, it was hard for me. You know what? I had a hand operation. I don't know, 3 or 4 years now, probably a little longer than that. Now, about maybe 5, 8 years ago, and they did it without general anesthesia. And I'm just sitting there, and they're cutting into my hand because I had a trigger finger, the finger that doesn't
Right.
straighten out, and they had to make a that shave the bone so that the tendon would be able to pass through it unencumbered.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching them do it, and if you'd have told me that I could do that, because I could only imagine what the pain was. They were sitting there with a little Dremel moto tool cutting around my bone in my hand, and I'm like, and I mean, I'm not feeling anything, but psychologically, I'm like, what in the world am I letting them do to me? Usually when that stuff happens to me, you're out. And
Yeah.
for whatever reason, they didn't want to put me out this time. Oh, yeah, a local will do it. I've done a million of these. I know how to do it.
Well, did the procedure go well?
Yeah, I can straighten out my hand. I mean, you can still see the scar that it left.
Mm.
But I mean, my finger, it was impossible to straighten it out.
So did they lengthen it or shorten the tendon?
They didn't cut the tendon. All they did was, there's the tendon goes through a little tunnel here to go up to your wrist. And so what they do is they open up the hole that the tendon goes through.
Ah.
They make the hole bigger so that the tendon can pass through it easily. And so far, it's been great.
Excellent.
No problems. It wasn't a big. I mean, on the realm of surgeries I've had, it wasn't a big one, but it was, I think, the first one I was awake for.
Ooh. So they
And
put on a bit of a show.
yeah, I mean, other times they put me out. Like when they did my thyroid, they put me out. I wasn't going to, the last thing I wanted to do was to see them opening up my neck. I mean, I've watched it on TV, so I know what it looks like. But sorry, I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see it, and I don't want anyone else to see it.
I'll thank you. Well, I want the doctor to be able to see it, but other than that, I don't need the videotape. Although I did keep a videotape of my colonoscopy.
I kept these still pictures because mine was so perfect.
Well, I always had this thought that I was going to take the video of my colonoscopy, and I was going to get B-roll of the Holland Tunnel and put it, in the front of it, in the back of it, and then show it at a party where, you see all these cars going into the Holland Tunnel, and then you just see my butt and then coming out on the Jersey side.
And leading the way proudly.
It's a project that I just never have gotten to do, but I hope that before I drop dead, I'll be able to do that. Well, Michael, I'm sorry for your pain. I'm sorry that, but you seem to be a lot more chipper today.
Well, I have a little more life. I've gotten some sleep, but I can't say when it's going to come or how it's going to come. Um, I'm not going to fade away today, but the the bed calls me and says, "Come on, you can sleep." And then sometimes I think, damn, I bet I can. Bet I can just turn this thing around. Come on.
Yeah, but then it
Uh,
doesn't. Yeah, yeah. No,
then the hands and feet started activating.
it's an enticing sleep is an enticing mistress when you are
Oh
in
boy,
that condition. It,
come
it,
back,
it
come
it
back to
calls
me.
you and you slide into bed with it, but somehow it just says, "Well, I've got a headache tonight.
I gotta get up and change the Venetian blinds.
I gotta get up and look at the pattern on the drapes." It's horrible. I shouldn't laugh at it because it's a horrible, horrible feeling. But well, Mikey, uh,
Well, Vinny,
I
it was a
think we
wacky
should.
Wednesday, wasn't it? I said it'd be a wacky Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, no. Listen, I think that that's part of what we do here is we're not shy about talking about things that happen to us, and I think that's why we're real. I mean, what happens to us, we're not afraid to let the people that listen to us know about it. Number one, and number two, because maybe it makes somebody else out there who is experiencing something similar feel like they're not alone. That hey, that
Good,
happens to other
good,
people too.
good enough for me. I gladly participate in that game. Then
Yeah, I think that that's one of the things about us is that is that we're real. We don't hide the things that happen to us. Well, some of the things, but for the
well,
most part, what you see is what you get.
all those other rumors about being arrested in Kansas City were just nonsense anyway.
No, there was the lawyers that came back in the early '90s, the pros from Kansas City that everybody had to worry about. But that's a story for another day. That'll be our
And
college football opener.
our Freaky Friday college football opener. It's a
Yes,
great tradition around here. It's the joint running of the Talladega 500 and the Preakness on the same track at the same time. And well,
I've always thought that the horses had the advantage. Maybe I was wrong.
no, they do, especially when there's a wreck. They just go around. Come around, idiot.
Over.
Exactly.
All right, man. I will catch up with you on Friday for a Freaky Fractious Friday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise. I'm going. I'm heading down after. Well, actually, after the show on Saturday, I'm heading down to the Farewell Festival
Where's
uh,
that?
in Redmond, Oregon, where I will do something that I haven't done in many years.
Camped out.
Well, no, go to a festival.
Uh-huh.
But I'm doing it because I want to see Willie.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a bucket list kind of thing. I've never seen Willie, so I want to see him.
Who else is
Uh,
playing that I might know? Is it all country artists?
it's a lot of country artists. Cheryl Crow is playing on Saturday, but I didn't buy a Saturday ticket. We just bought tickets for Sunday because going to a festival isn't as cheap as it used to be.
No, it's not. And you have to bring your survival supplies for every inevitable need.
Yes,
And know where the bathrooms are, know where your stuff is, know where your friends are, know where the car is, and stay in touch by phone.
yeah, one of the wonderful. Well, I'm going with my daughter, so that's a good thing because it'll be the one date you can trust. Um, and she's taken on the responsibility of making sure that Daddy brings everything that he's supposed to.
Good job,
So
Daddy.
yeah, so she's good with that, and she goes to festivals all the time, so she knows the deal. She knows how to pack. She's got it down to a science, and plus we have the added. Um, I guess I always call it an advantage. I don't know how much of an advantage it really is of being ADA. So I get to take my walker in, and my walker includes a seat. So wherever we wind up, I'll have a place at least to sit down.
I like it.
It's not on the floor. They have a special ADA area. I don't know what that's going to look like. And I
Probably
don't.
like a Texas concentration camp.
Yeah,
High fences, armed guards.
yeah. And luckily, I've scouted the weather, and the highest temperature they're expecting is 89.
Going to be 92 here today. I did a little homework, studied the. It's
Yeah,
been hot.
so it'll be. It won't be. I mean, it'll probably be hotter than normal, but it's not going to be that. It is in the desert. The Oregon desert. So I don't think it'll be that 115 or 120, of which I would say I'm out.
Funny thing about the Oregon desert is if you've never been to Oregon and you drove the coast, you go, desert? Look at this green place. You can't have a desert. Where are you
Yeah.
going to put a desert, for crying out tears? Where would you put a desert if you were an Oregonian? Well, it's in the high country.
Well, you'd put it where the last Blockbuster is.
And yeah, and they're doing land office business.
You'd put it in Bend.
And then I lost my train of thought. Anyway, you're in Oregon and it's a high desert. Oh, that's it. Now you go to Arizona where you expect a desert. Over 5,000 feet, you're in the mountains. No, not the desert, the mountains with snow and
Yeah. It all of a sudden gets green.
And a tree line and a wolf.
North of Flagstaff, and all of a sudden it's like you're in the enchanted forest.
That's exactly where I saw the only wolf of my life. I was driving at night from Boulder to LA with Kailani, my daughter. She's asleep, and I go, whoa, wolf, man. It was beautiful. It crossed the highway, my left and my right. Just knew where it was going, had things to do, had a meeting that he had to meet, and had something he wanted to eat later. And he didn't have time to say hello or
didn't stop, huh?
No, he kept.
You'll get a kick out of this. In my stuff, I'm sure you remember this. We did a program about the wolf when we were back at the city at the planetarium in Golden Gate Park. I think it's at the DeYoung. And we did a beautiful poster. And I still have that poster.
Oh, I don't remember that poster.
All these years I've held on to that poster, saying that one day I would get it framed, because it's just it was such a beautiful work of art.
Remember once at the city, we had a rally at Union Square, right in the middle of the Tony shopping district of San Francisco.
Yes.
And I don't remember what the reason for the rally was.
It was save the city.
But there were scientists there about. There were mineral scientists, and I remember I said, I'm one of your biggest alluvial fans, and only the doctors got that. Nobody else knew what the hell I was talking about. And it was I thought, a well-chosen one-liner that nobody understood except the people who know.
Somewhere I actually have a proof sheet of photos for that. I got a great photo of, I don't know if it's you and I, but I know I'm standing next. Oh no, you know what? It's me, Alan Burton, and John Kuhn.
There's three desperados.
Standing together, as we're, and the late great Alan Burton, who was a master of folk music, knew more about it than just about anybody. And that was the Save the City rally. Amazing. All right, man. I'll see you on Friday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise. Feel better and keep your chin up, or feel up and keep your chin better.
All those things. I'll do them both. I'll do them together. And my turkey is still not a lovable turkey, but it's not as cold as it was when we started.
Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine.
See you, Mikey.
See you, Vinnie.